I thought as sort of build-up almost to how I'm going to explain how I learn songs, which is probably the most asked question I have. I thought that this Metal Talk video could be sort of an example video of how I learn songs, and then I talk about it in another video. Because today we are going through the frame of confusion, which is how I usually learn songs. I sort of part it into different sets or so, and the first set that I learn is the frame. So we are going to talk about as good as all the rhythm parts in confusion, and I'm not going to sort of name them or have them in the right order or tell you how the order is, because I'm just going to go through the different riffs and then you can put it together to the complete song as you would like. Yeah, so let's just go over pretty much everything from confusion in a rhythm guitar sort of perspective. So yeah, let's get started! The intro is just sort of this which is just E's all the way, just open E string. The song is in standard, by the way. It's just an open E string and then second fret of the A string. You also have this more fancy sort of playing on top of this, which is this. Into two parts. So the first part, which is this, you just have a long note on the open E string, and then you slide up to the 8th fret, and you play the 7th fret after that, and then the 6th fret of the E string. So far you have. And then you play 3, 2, 1, sort of a little bit faster. And then you come round again to the open E string. And the second part of that is really similar. You start off on the open string again. We are on the E string as usual. And then you play 8 and 7 on the E string sort of right after each other. And then you play open E string again. And then you play 7, 6 on the E string. So together you have. And then you play open E string again, and then 1st fret of the E string. And you play open again to sort of come around again, so you can start the riff over again. And then comes this part that comes again in the song a lot, which is and that is played on the A and the D string, and you start off with the 7th and the 9th fret of the A and the D string, and then you play 5, 7, so, and then 3, 5, and then 5, 7 again. So far we have. And then you play 8, 10 on the A and the D string. And then 7 and 9. So far we have. And then you play 5, 7 again. And then 8, 10 again. And then then just an open sort of E string, E chord. So together, the entire thing. Yeah! And there is this part where you have this... that is just played on the sort of highest E string, and then the open B string. Both of those are open. And on the second round, where you play the similar thing, which is... that's just an open B string and an open G string, which is slightly out of tune. But yeah, and now we've come to the probably the coolest riff, I think at least, in the song, which is a lot of people call it the main riff. I'm not sure if it is the main riff, but either way. It's so cool. And there you start off with an open E chord, which is an open string on the E string and second fret of the A string. And then you have 8 notes on the E string. And then you play first fret of the A string and then open fret of the A string, and you play that twice. And then third fret of the E string. So, and then you play open string on the A string, and then first fret and open string again. So far you have, and then you come back to the E chord, and you have this sort of horse marching rhythm almost, which goes twice, so it sounds like... And then you play an F chord, which is the first fret of the E string with the third fret of the A string. And that's the riff. Yeah, it's so cool! And after that riff, you come back to this. Sort of version of that is just, which is the 7th and 9th fret of the A and D string, and then 5 and 7, and then 3 and 5. And the next round where that comes, you just move from the 7th and 9th, and 5, 7, and 3, 5. You also now have 2, 4. Every single note of these are on the A and the D string. So yeah, and in the chorus you have this riff that goes. Playing the 3rd and the 5th fret of the E and the A string, and then you just play an E chord, which is the open string and 2nd fret of the E and the A string, and then you have 2 strokes on the E string, and then you play the 3rd fret of the E string along with the 5th fret of the A string again, and then you just remove your point finger of your playing hand, so you have open and 5th fret afterwards. And you technically don't have to play the 5th fret of the A string on the second one. And then you sort of come on again to the G chord. So far. And then you play 5, 7 on the E and the A string. And you play 6th fret and the 8th fret of the E and the A string. So. And then you play again on the sort of G and E chord. You play that actually identical. But when you get to the 6th fret and the 8th fret, instead of starting over on the riff, you sort of lie on the 5th fret and the 7th fret of the E and the A string. And then the G chord, which is the 3rd and the 5th fret of the E and A string. And then you go up again to the 5th and the 7th fret. So sort of. And then you go down again to the G chord and to the E chord. So that's sort of one round or so. And now we only have actually a few riffs left, which is so far into the song. So there you play the... and quite far into the song you get to this riff, which is... and it's so cool. You start off with 4 strokes on the open E string. And then you play 6 and 8 on the E and the A string. And then you play the same sort of 6th and 8th fret. And then you play it again with the 4 strokes in between. And then you have 4 strokes in between that again, and you directly slide down from the 6th and 8th fret of the E and the A string. You slide down to the 5th and the 7th fret of the E and the A string. And you have an E chord. So now we have come to the last riff of the song, which is this. It's so cool! You start off on the 5th fret of the A string. And you hammer on to the 7th fret of the A string. And you play that 3 times. So the one time you are playing it is sounded by the hammer on, so you technically just hit it twice. Yeah, so you play that twice. And then you play it, play the 7th fret 1 extra time, the last round, sort of. And then you play the 6th fret of the E string. And then you play the open E twice. And then you slide from the 5th and 7th fret of the E and the A string to the 6th and the 8th fret of the E and the A string. And then you have this fun little rhythm. it's easier to listen to it than to actually explain it. But if you should explain it, it's 5 notes and the 5th note is a little bit longer, and then you have 6 notes again. Yeah. And then you play the same thing again, but instead of sliding from the 5th and 7th to the 6th and the 8th fret, you are sliding from the 5th and the 7th to the 3rd and the 5th fret of the E and the A string. And then you play the same rhythm again. So together, those two. So this riff, you play that sort of 1.5 times, and let me just show you what I mean. A change, so that's 1.5 times. The change is that you actually play this hammer-on from 5 to 7, and then you just go directly to the 6th fret. You can also make that a chord by adding the 8th fret of the A string, which gives it a more powerful sound. And then you do the same thing, but you end on the 5th fret. And yeah. And then you slide from the 5th fret to the 3rd and the 5th fret of the E and the A string. And I think that there's sort of this stop there that you have just the chord, but I think I might have played the rhythm in the cover. I'm not sure. But either way, you can both just have it sort of lying on the E chord, or you can have the same rhythm as usual. And then you sort of repeat that. So yeah, I think we're actually there. We have gone through every single rhythm part there is in Confusion, I think. Yeah. Oh, so cool. So this is a super long Metal Talk video, but I really wanted to make it this way because it will make more sense when I actually start to explain how I learn songs, and I hope that you are sort of seeing where this is going in terms of how I actually learn songs. But yeah, that is the Frame to Confusion by Metallica. Such an awesome song, and I hope you just rock it out and have fun with it, and I'll see you on Thursday!